down here. And
that's the wrong button. I already messed up.
All right, Josh, just start over. Oh my fucking god, Josh, you're looking for the gold of the ecstasy of gold.
That's the ticket.
Yes.
Yes! Yeah, baby! Yes!
Ron, where are you?
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
Wow, Josh, are you proud of yourself for that intro? You really happy with everything you just did there?
I'm ecstatic. I think Ron summed it up pretty nicely there. I think we're all in a glass case of emotion because it is the day before the kickoff of the 2018 NFL season.
Honestly, I should be more pumped than I am. I think I'm underestimating or undervaluing the fact that NFL starts to fucking morrow.
Yes, no, I think you are undervaluing it. I can't tell you how much I refresh my page at work trying to find out the latest updates, trying to find out if a time machine's been invented so I could just skip the day and get to tomorrow. I am ready.
How you feeling today, Josh?
Well, I have a little bit of a sore throat still. Other than that, I'm feeling fine. I'm about to yell at my dog because she's digging at something she shouldn't be, and I don't even want to look.
It's your workout pad. The pad that sits under your equipment. She's going to dig a hole to China, though, I swear to God.
Gaia, hey.
Yep, she's now eating the workout pad for an update for our audio listeners that can't see what's going on. And when I say audio listeners, that's literally all of you, so I don't know why I differentiated there, but...
Yeah, well, you never know. Some of them might have an interpreter and they're reading sign language, but...
I guess. Shout out to Derek's parents, probably.
Yep. How are you doing today, Gar?
We're living the dream. Every time I'm driving here, I always feel like I want you to ask me that question. I want to go on a rant about how many dumb fucks there are in traffic or stuff like that. I didn't really have one on the drive over here. I can note one first world problem of disappointment that I had today. So almost every pod on my way to Josh's house here, I stop at the Quick Trip. And so I was looking through the candy section because Nikita said she wanted chocolate, and I always look at the Skittles section because I'm hoping one day my dreams will yet again come true. But they didn't today. I was very disappointed because no one seems to sell the tropical Skittles anymore. It's the Skittles in the blue bag, probably my favorite kind of Skittles, and literally no one sells them fucking anywhere.
Those are actually very legit. I will give you that. But I honestly thought you were going to go and ask for, since you mentioned Nikita wanting chocolate, I thought you were going to say chocolate Skittles, and I was just going to say those are M&Ms.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, no, sometimes you can find the tropical and like the mixed berry mix. So it's like the purple and blue bag kind of mixed together, but that's bullshit, Josh. I want tropical. I don't want to dig through.
Right. No, obviously. I mean, I think tropical and then the mixed berry with the purple, those are the two best. But you can't mix them together. We have a long show today, it looks like. I'm looking through some of the notes that I took.
Let's waste like 15 more minutes on small talk that no one cares about. How's that sound, Bus?
No, we're at 3.5 minute mark already. Well, I'm already bored. So.
Part of that is you fucking up the intro about 4 times, so there'll probably be a minute of cut time in there.
Well, yeah, but I'm not a producer. I'm just the creative talent behind the podcast.
Yeah. Well, before you get started, Josh, I'm going to cut you off already. I just want to plug our email real quick. Or we didn't give our show a title. We're the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. Our email, if you want to email us or email the show, it's hiddenoaksoverdose@gmail.com. And as always, at the start of the show, I'd like to give a shout out to our good, handsome, lovely friend Levi Oki for creating that beautiful art you're looking at. Go ahead and follow him on Instagram at Levi Oki Illustration. And for any business inquiries, he's a legitimate artist. You'll see his email in his Instagram bio. And that's pretty much all I had. We're available on pretty much all platforms as a podcast now. Google Play just launched today, so we're finally available on there. And after we hit our 5th episode, which is tonight, we're going to submit to iHeartRadio, and we should be available on there by next week. All right, that's all I got.
So we've made it.
We're official. Yeah.
All right. So like I was saying, I mean, the notes that I got, it's a little bit longer show. Not as long as the live draft, but hopefully more entertaining. I know we had some listens from that league. So shout out to the Blood, Sweat, and Beers League for listening to that. Anybody else that listened, I don't know why. I don't like listening to normal drafts, let alone a draft I'm not even in. But yeah, so we're
Why
going to
don't you go on and eat a cheeseburger, you basketball-eating, walrus-ass motherfucker?
Give us a little more credit, Josh. Come on.
I'm a little hungry. So we're going to go through some of our season predictions for all games in the NFL. We're not going to sit down, bore you by going through each and every single one. I think 256.
256 regular season games. We predicted them all.
Yeah, but we're going to go through what the regular season, what our predictions are for regular season final records are. Maybe on some of the ones that have a little bit of discrepancy, we'll discuss our reasoning behind that. But then also compare it to some of the professionals or so-called professionals, Sporting News and NFL Analytics, to what they say and see how we compare to them. I don't know about you, Garlic, but with my predictions, I sat down, looked at the spreadsheet, and just kind of went. Did not do any research, didn't care. I think the only thing that I changed was with the Khalil Mack trade, I gave the Bears one more win.
Wow. Yeah, I did almost less research. I don't know if that's possible, but I can say that I didn't didn't change things after the Khalil Mack trade. I went in, I just, did it based on intuition, and, sadly, a lot of it's based on kind of last year's performances. So obviously we're going to be a little bit inaccurate, but when you're trying to predict 256 games in one sitting, I'm not willing to put in that much effort to actually do a good job.
Absolutely.
Not that we'd ever do a good job at anything anyways, but
probably not. I mean, I gave us 1 star on Spotify.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Yep. Other than that, we're going to go over some of our Hidden Oaks redraft. We just had our draft for that the other day. We're going to go over some of that. Not break it down by each round, but we're going to talk about some of our favorite teams, some of our favorite picks, that sort of thing. And then give some Dynasty League updates since Garlic and I are a part of 3 of them. And so...
Jesus.
Yeah, way too many. And that's something that I wanted to talk about. I'm in way too many leagues.
Josh, I'm in 8 leagues. How many leagues
I thought you were in 9. Did you get kicked out of one?
Well, one of them was, okay, so Jalen, you probably won't listen to this, but Jalen had set up a Yahoo League, and he only got 6 people in it. So we never drafted. It never happened. So
who are his other 2 friends?
Josh, I don't think he actually has friends. So I don't know.
All right. But yeah, so that's kind of what I have on our notes for the show today. And so I guess it doesn't matter where we start. If you'd like to start with the season predictions, because that's what's on the next on the list, we can. Otherwise, we could go through some of the other updates for the draft.
Yeah, I don't really care where we start or where we finish.
Let's do predictions. I'm a fan of order. I'm going to cut you off right there.
Ooh, all right. Fuck me, I guess.
So, yeah, I'll let you kick it off while I go kick my dog's butt for digging at stuff.
Oh, okay. So you tell me what we're going to do, and then you're going to... All right, I'll fuck off, I guess. So, like we've kind of hinted at a bunch already, Josh and I put together a nice little spreadsheet of every NFL game this year, 256 regular games total. Regular season games total. And so obviously I'm not going to sit here and go through everyone's record. Kind of at the bottom of the league, I have the Jets going 2-14, Denver going 3-13, Buffalo going 3-13, Tampa Bay 4-12. Those are kind of my bottom 4 teams. The Buffalo made the playoffs last year. I just don't see them doing that well this year. Tampa Bay, going back, like I made all those predictions assuming Jameis Winston comes back and starts all year. If Fitzmagic ends up starting all 16 games, I probably would give him a few more wins, honestly. Not because Fitzmagic is good, but just because he has, he goes up and down. I'd say he's more of a 50% guy. He'll have one good game, one bad game, and kind of go back and forth rather than a long streak of good and bad. And then, we won't talk our playoff brackets just yet, but my top teams, I got New Orleans going 13-3, Philadelphia repeating going 13-3 again, New England 12-4, Green Bay 11-5, Jacksonville 11-5, San Fran 11-5. So those are 6 teams? Those are my top 6. So, I won't go too deep right now. Josh, I guess I don't know how much analysis you wanted me to do. I was just kind of vamping here.
Thank you for spitballing while I was away. But yeah, so I heard you going over your bottom teams. I have Miami at the bottom, going 2-14. I mean, I know they're getting Tannehill back, but they lost Sue on the defensive line. They lost Landry. They gained Amendola. I don't really think that I would consider that much of an addition. I have the New York Jets at 3-13, starting a rookie quarterback. Yep, I'm still coughing, people. Starting a rookie quarterback, kind of question marks around a lot of their positions, it seems like, just from what I've been hearing. 3-13, even with a rookie quarterback for them. Not bad. Indy, Luck's back. I understand that. It's been over a year since he's thrown. He was throwing Nerf footballs like 2 months ago. So I have them.
Did you not watch him this preseason?
It's preseason football. I had better things to do. I had
But
art club.
he threw more than. Give the guy some credit. Jeez, Josh, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the rest of that team. T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle. Well, Doyle rules. But their defense is atrocious. If they go out there and they run that fake punt play, they're probably putting a better product on the field than they will this year.
Jackass!
Yep. Buffalo 3-13 as well. I'm not a big believer in Nathan Peterman as their starter. I watched that game last year with the 5 interceptions and 4 passes or whatever it was. And then I also have Washington, Tampa Bay, Oakland, New York, Giants, and Denver at 4-12. I looked at my predictions. Like I said, I put very little effort into these. And I realize I have a lot of teams that are underperforming, and then I have a lot of teams at the other end that are overperforming.
You definitely don't have a whole lot of middle. You have a lot of extremes there.
Yep. And so, rounding out the top, I have 3 teams going 14-2, and 2 of them are in the same division because that's just how I roll. Atlanta, New Orleans, and LA, the Rams, 14-2. Jacksonville 13-3. New England 13-3. Philly 13-3. So those are kind of the top teams there. I also have Green Bay, Houston, Pitt going 12-4. I think with all of my picks, I had at least 1 or 2 games with every single team that I hemmed and hawed on. And so I would say that there is a plus or minus 2 on these. A lot of them. There are a few teams that I'm fairly confident in locking in on, like Arizona, Chicago at 7-9 and 8-8. But I think the meat of this should be us talking about kind of comparing our head-to-head predictions
Sure.
and seeing if we agreed on some of them.
I agree with that. I definitely like to go through that. I definitely would like to go through the playoff scenario. I think a lot of people, care about playoffs a lot. So, definitely let's go down the list of kind of the compare and contrast. But I'd like to give a good maybe 5 minutes, which may sound like a lot of time, but a good 5 minutes going over kind of our hypothetical playoff bracket, assuming you made one up today.
I'll work on that.
Oh, God, Josh. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know if you want to go do the head-to-head comparison because you put this together. I really haven't looked at the sheet much yet.
Yeah, so this head-to-head comparison was just our wins, losses for each team. So we're not breaking it down game by game. And then I added a couple of predictions that I found. I saw Sporting News did one in NFL Analytics. I looked for ones that were kind of recent, so they kind of factored in the Jerick McKinnon injury. They factored in the Khalil Mack trade.
Things we did not factor in.
Yeah, exactly. They're smarter than us, apparently. So we'll see how accurate this goes. And so are you on the sheet right now? We can roll through and do every other and just get through it real quick. Arizona, you have 8-8. I have 7-9, so fairly consistent there. We're giving them more credit than Sporting News, who has them 4-12, and NFL Analytics has them going 5.5.
5.5.
Yeah, a little closure with them is apparently I read. It was like 5 paragraphs. I read maybe 1.5 of them because I got bored. And it sounds like what they did was they plugged in everything to their little analytics machine and then ran a simulation 100,000 times and then came up with a range of wins. And this was the average of that range. And so they have them going 5.5 wins throughout the season, plus or minus a certain number.
Nope. All right. So yeah, next on the list was Atlanta. I've got them 7-9. You have them 14-2. Jesus Christ, big discrepancy there. So I'll let you talk about that in a sec if you want. Sporting News has them going 10-6, and then NFL Analytics is only giving them 7.5. So Sporting News sees it more your way. At least they'll have a winning season. NFL Analytics kind of supports my argument. I have them at 7-9. I have them at 7-9 just because this team doesn't really excite me. I don't know if anyone has heard Jalen Ramsey's comments about Matt Ryan, but ever since Shanahan left, he's not really a big deal anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm actually leaning closer towards Sporting News in my own predictions on this, just because I gave them a little bit of credit for the second year with the same offensive coordinator. Matt Ryan seems. I don't know what it is with that division, but with that division, it's kind of an alternating every other type thing. So maybe he'll turn it around this year after having kind of a down year with the new OC last year. But yeah, 14-2 is probably a little overzealous on that, but I'm not changing it.
Sure.
Next, we have Baltimore. You have them at 7-9. I have them at 8-8. Sporting News has them at 7-9, and NFL Analytics has them at 8.3. Don't think we need to do much of a deep dive. We're pretty
all pretty
consistent
much agree.
Across the board
Next.
that they're a 50-50 team. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so next is Buffalo. I got them 3-13. You got them 3-13. Sporting News has them at 4-12. NFL Analytics with the upset at 5.7, I guess. So yeah, I mean, again, we kind of agree. We think they're a lower tier team. No offense, I mean, not trying to make any bad blood with the Bills here, but it's just they don't have a good team. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say other than that.
And I wonder how much that'll change if Shady doesn't play at all. I mean, I know he's playing week 1, but if something comes out with that and he doesn't play after that, it's going to be I would expect it to be even worse than that 5.7 or even a 3-13.
Sure.
Carolina, you have them at 9-7. I have them at 8-8. Sporting News has them at 8-8, and NFL Analytics has them at 7.2. I know it's an even year. And the joke on Reddit is that even year Carolina Panthers are 15-1, 14-2. But I believe in breaking that tradition this year.
Sure. All right. Next, we got Chicago. You, me, and Sporting News has them all at 7-9, and then NFL Analytics has them with 8 wins, not even a decimal. So yeah, Mitch Trubisky, new coaching staff, decent talent on that team, but I don't see him making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, I know you align Vikings, I align Packers. And if our Blood, Sweat, and Beers League is listening to this and the Bears fan.
The Happy Bears fan.
Happy Bears fan, yeah, sorry, I forgot that adjective in there. If he's listening to this, he's probably cursing us and like trying to summon Mike Ditka to attack our souls. But I don't have as much faith in their offense as some people, even though Matt Nagy is supposed to be Sean McVay 2.0. The Khalil Mack trade is definitely going to help your defense, but you guys had a solid defense already. I never really doubted their defense before. So it'll be interesting to see. I do think that they're definitely going to have a better year than last year, and they're going to be scary in the years to come, especially if Trubisky steps it up.
Yeah, Josh, let's go through this quick. Yeah, that was so quick.
Yeah, sorry. Cincinnati, you have 5-11. I have 6-10. Sporting News has them 4-12. NFL Analytics has them at 6.8. So kind of all within that same record. Not a winning season, not a losing season. Marvin Jones losing his job, that sort of thing.
You really think he's going to lose his job? I mean, I know I just bitched at you for taking a long time, but Marvin Jones is a staple. He will outlast that team. That team will leave before Marvin Jones leaves.
Sure.
All right. Anyways, next, Cleveland, 6-10. So we're generous to even give these guys a win, considering Cleveland went fucking 0-16 last year. Over. I know Common was pissed because that takes away the Lions being the only one to do it. But I have 6-10. You have 5-11. Sporting News has 6-10. NFL Analytics gave them 6 wins. There's some promise on that team. I mean, but it's very similar to last year, though. They looked better on paper than they performed. And going into last season, they had done a bunch of offseason moves that made them look like they'd be better, and it just didn't pan out. So we're generous to give them 6 wins. Next.
Dallas, you have them at 10-6. I have them at 6-10. Sporting News has them at 9-7, and NFL Analytics has them at 7.4. Why 10-6?
I like Zeke. I like that old line. If they can keep pounding the rock, I like that team. Dak Prescott is a serviceable quarterback if he's not expected to throw 50 passes, 300 yards a game. The defense probably took some hits in the offseason, but the probably biggest name loss was Dez Bryant on offense, and he wasn't that big of a factor despite what he wants to believe. So that's why I got 10-6. As long as they can pound that rock, Zeke's got a great line to run behind.
I think my whole reasoning behind my record is I'm not a big Dak believer. I know you mentioned serviceable. That's probably the minimum of that's a maximum, I guess, is what I'd call it, I guess.
Sure.
But I think part of it is just my absolute disdain for Jerry Jones. I don't know. Moving on to Denver, you have them at 3-13. I have them at 4-12. Sporting News has them at 7-9, and NFL Analytics has them at 8.4. Apparently, we're missing something here.
No, I mean, I think they're factoring in a good defense, which I just don't see anymore. I think Denver, I think their reign of being a supreme defense is over, so that's why I tanked them. I like Case Keenum, but he's not going to carry this team. Case Keenum was winning last year because of a great defense. I think that's done in Denver.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's kind of my reasoning behind it, too.
All right, so Detroit. We talked about this in the other podcast, but I've got them 9-7. Josh has them 10-6. Sporting News has them 7-9. NFL Analytics gets them 8.4. The middle of the road records again. I have them with a winning record, but missing the playoffs. I have them with the same record as the Vikings. So both the Vikings and Detroit are missing the playoffs in my scenario. But you gave them 10-6. I guess I don't know if that's a playoff team or not in your scenario, since you have so many 14-2 teams. But Matt Stafford's good, but with the coaching change, I don't see him exploding this year.
Yeah, no, I love Matt Stafford. I mean, so Detroit, it's kind of like the little neighbor kid that you kind of invite to play along because you need that extra guy. But
if Detroit didn't play the Vikings and Packers a combined 4 times a year, they'd probably have a higher record. But
absolutely,
tough division.
Yep, no, and that is unfortunate. Green Bay, you have it 11-5. I have it 12-4. Sporting News has them at 11-5, and then NFL Analytics has them at 10.2.
We pretty much all agree there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about the Packers more if you want, Josh. I'll give you like an extra 30 seconds for your team.
No, the phone call earlier, you said I talk about them too much anyways.
All right. I think the Packers are good. And obviously my 11-5 assumes Rodgers is on the field. Houston I got going 10-6. You got them going 12-4. Sporting News has them at a more mild 9-7, and NFL Analytics follows that with a 9.4. Again, this assumes Deshaun Watson plays all year. I really like Jadeveon Clowney on the defense there. I really hope Deshaun Watson, I talked about this a lot already. I just hope Deshaun Watson, kind of has can match his performance from last year and stretch it over 16 weeks.
Indy, you have it 7-9. I have it 3-13. Sporting News 6-10, and then NFL Analytics 5.3. Seems that you and Sporting News are a little bit optimistic. Not optimistic, I guess. 7-9 isn't the best record in the world, but my 3-13 is probably just because I'm so used to watching them bumble around.
Is your 3-13 with more of a Jacoby Brissett led team or an Andrew Luck led team?
I'm Jacoby Brissett, but I mean it's just until Andrew Luck comes back and plays at the level he was playing before he got hurt, I have no confidence in the rest of that squad.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, my record with Indy was assuming Andrew Luck was there all year, and I think Andrew Luck is enough of a game changer to get him some extra wins they wouldn't have before. But next we got Jacksonville, starting quarterback the boat. Jacksonville, I got to go in 11-5. You have them going 13-3. Sporting News has them at 13-3, and then NFL Analytics has them at a 10.44. So 13-3 seems generous. I'm surprised Sporting News would go that high. I mean, their defense is rock solid. Don't get me wrong. I'm a firm believer in Saxonville, but let's not forget who their quarterback is. I love Blake Bortles as a man so much, but let's not pretend he hasn't thrown away some games with some badly timed picks or poorly thrown passes. So 11-5, I think, is supremely riding that defense.
Right. Kansas City, you have it 5-11. I have it 11-5. Sporting News has them in the middle at 8-8, and then NFL Analytics has them at 10.3. So not a lot of agreement across the board there. Not a believer in Mahomes?
No, I'm really not. And they lost, what was their offensive coordinator, though, Justin Casey, who went to the Bears? I mean, I know Andy Reid pretty much runs the offense there, but I don't know, not a huge believer in Mahomes, at least not in his first year as a starter. I have no more comment than that, really. Just not a firm believer in this team. Their defense took some hits, too.
Yeah, for sure. Understandable.
The Chargers have a soft spot in my heart, as Josh knows, and a lot of these listeners probably know. I had them only going a mild 10-6, though. I shouldn't say mild. That's a winning playoff record, but it's not super exciting at the same time. You have them going an even 8-8. Sporting News is very optimistic with them going 13-3, and then NFL Analytics has them at a 9.5. I love the Chargers. I think they're a well-built team. It's hard to say a team's unlucky, but the Chargers get just fucked with injuries every year. And they've already lost some key components for this year, which blows for them. But I so badly want Rivers to get a ring. If it was a Chargers-Vikings Super Bowl, I'd have a hard time choosing who to root for.
Well, he's going to need that extra money from winning a Super Bowl to feed all 25 of his kids.
That's true.
Rams, you have it 10-6. I have it 14-2. Sporting News has them kind of in the middle at 12-4, and then NFL Analytics has them at 9.2 wins. I have have them at 14-2 just because all of their offseason moves, they're win now mode. I love Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is my favorite player in the NFL. Their defense is solid. They're just a really well-rounded team. I can see 10-6 though if Jared Goff regresses from what he did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I would put Jared Goff, and this might be offensive to some, but I put Jared Goff in the same category as Dak Prescott. I think he's a serviceable quarterback, and he doesn't have the legs that Dak Prescott would have. So maybe Jared Goff is a little better passing, but he's not that dual threat. And I had another thought, but all their offseason moves, sure, they're trying to pad their roster, but it almost gives me like dream team. The whole dream team thing usually doesn't work out so often, so I'm not a firm believer in that. But I mean, maybe they go 16-0 and I look like a fucking idiot. Miami, I have them going 7-9. You have them at 2-14. And then Sporting News supports you at 2-14. And then NFL Analytics, which I'll never say on the first go, gives them 6.7. So I don't think Ryan Tannehill's bad. I think Adam Gase isn't. I think Adam Gase is a good coach. If any man can get Jay Cutler to play better than Jay Cutler normally would, that's a man I have to believe in. So I think that they won't do as bad as 2-14. Maybe they don't do quite as good as 7-9. But
it would be hard to do
definitely
worse than 2-14.
Okay, well, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah. So after Miami, Minnesota, you have them at 9-7. I have them at 11-5. Sporting News has them at 12-4, and NFL Analytics has them at 9.9. Fairly consistent across the board. Obviously, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Decent offensive skill positions. Delvin Cook, everybody's on that hype train, and I understand he did quite a bit last year in the 4 games he was given, but it was 4 games in the NFL. And so when you have 4 plastic bags and a half-eaten bag of Doritos on the offensive line, you gotta really hope for some magic to happen in order to win more than you did last year. So that's why I have them less than 13-3.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I have them at 9-7 again in my predictions here. We'll talk about the playoff scenarios in a little bit, but I have Minnesota missing the playoffs. I don't give a shit how good this team looks on paper. Minnesota will find one way or another to fuck it up. We're not a team that sustains success, not since Bud Grant. So one way or another, either Cousins gets hurt or the O-line is literally paper mache. Whatever happens, 9-7 is mainly riding the defense. I don't give a shit. We're missing the playoffs for sure. That was more cynical than I expected. Sorry, Vikings fans, which is most of our listeners. New England is next. 12-4 is what I got them at. Josh, you got them at 13-3. Sporting News has them at 13-3, and NFL Analytics gave them an 11.3. We all agree the New England's in the playoffs every fucking year. It doesn't matter. They're probably going to get that first round bye. They'll probably at least be in the AFC Championship game, if not the Super Bowl. Brady's too good. Belichick's too good. CPAT's there. I hope he has some success because I'm a big fan of him as a player. And New England is almost an automatic lock every year.
Did you see that? Okay, kind of a sidebar here, but
sure.
Their depth chart for wide receiver, somebody shared it, and I don't know if it was accurate or not, but there were 4 players. 4. Most guys carry 6, 7, sometimes 8 wide receivers into the season on their depth chart.
I mean, they also have
4.
like 6 running backs, though, don't they?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, Gronk's a pass catcher, but Chris Hogan's their number 1 guy. He played lacrosse.
No, he did not.
Their number 2 guy, I don't even know. And then Cordarrelle, I think, was number 3.
Wait, number 2, what was it Philip Dorsett?
Maybe. But then...
you don't know who Philip Dorsett is?
I know who he is, but I don't know I don't know if he was on there. It was just a quick thing. Moving on, sorry about that sidebar. New Orleans, you have them at 13-3. I have them at 14-2. Sporting News has them at 13-3, and NFL Analytics has them at 11.3. Fairly consistent across the board. Playoff team last year. Improved defense, improved offense, make Kamara great again. Moving on.
Yeah, New Orleans is. I have them in the Super Bowl. So, the Giants 7-9. I have them 7-9. Josh has them at 4-12. Sporting News has them 7-9, and NFL Analytics has them at pretty much 8. It's 8.003. If anyone cares that much, they give them a 3/1000ths. But yeah, Eli Manning can be good. I mean, the dude's beat Brady in the Super Bowl twice. I think Saquon's going to be good. But it's the defense can always be a question mark, and obviously Eli Manning's play can be a question mark. So I give him 7-9, but that's like a ±4 because there's so many intangibles. Next.
Yeah, New York Jets. You have them at 2-14. I have them at 3-13. Sporting News has them at 4-12, and NFL Analytics has them at 6.2. Bad team. Next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the only comment I can add to that is the Jets are a garbage team until they prove otherwise. I'd love for them to prove me wrong, but until then, you're garbage. Oakland 9-7, the John Gruden. I have them 9-7. You have them 4-12. Little discrepancy there. Sporting News has them 7-9, and then NFL Analytics has them at 5.7. Josh, why 4-12?
Their defense was garbage last year, even with Khalil Mack. They just got rid of Khalil Mack. Derek Carr was rather inconsistent. There's just a lot of, I'm not a big fan of Marshawn, I guess, even though, he's beast mode. He did great in Seattle. I don't think he did a whole lot last year from contributing to the team standpoint. I know he did some stuff in fantasy. He was decent. But I guess I'm just not a big fan of Gruden. I think you are, sir. Moving on, Philadelphia. That's me. You and I have them at 13-3. Sporting News has them 12-4. NFL Analytics has them 11.7. So we are all in agreement that they are going to do well again.
Yep, I think we talked about this in the last podcast, but I would like to give my 13. I can't speak for you, but I'd give my 13-3 like I can't say ±4 because that doesn't make any sense. But I'd definitely give a lot of range to my Philadelphia record because, like I said, I read that one article that convinced me that this team had a lot of overturn at coaching and other things, and Carson Wentz is coming off injury. So while they look great and we hope they can perform as well as last year, we don't know.
Oh no, I agree 100%.
Pittsburgh, pretty much another AFC lock. Maybe not quite as good as the Patriots, but pretty much the number 2 in the AFC when you're talking about great teams. I got them 10-6. You got them 12-4. Sporting News has 11-5, and NFL Analytics has a 10.9. Yeah, like I said, Pittsburgh's a good team. Big Ben, I'm not really a big fan of his as a person, but dude's a good quarterback. Antonio Brown's a fucking beast. Le'Veon Bell, when he's on the field and not being more of a whiny guy. Like, I understand this guy wants to get paid, but if you're not on the field, you're less likely to get paid. I don't understand what his strategy is, but a good AFC team. Josh, I know you're high on the Steelers, so feel free to add your personal comments if you have them.
Yeah, no, I'm high on the Steelers just because they are good. Nikita loves the Steelers, so if we were to give her a chance to speak about them, she'd just say that she loves AB because that's her boy. I remember when I started dating Nikita. For those of you who don't know, that's my current wife.
Your current wife? Who's your future wife, Josh? We're going to have to make another edit to these podcasts.
It'll be Nikita still.
Okay.
But she was an Antonio Brown fan before the NFL was an Antonio Brown fan. She asked for his jersey, and I was like, who? And so she spotted talent from a mile away, and we went and saw them play in Lambeau Field or at Lambeau Field in the snow, and it was a great game, even though the Packers lost. That was back when Eddie Lacy wasn't eating cheeseburgers and he was scoring tutters. But moving on to Seattle, another one that's fairly consistent across the board. You have them at 5-11. I have them at 6-10. Sporting News has them at 7-9, and then NFL Analytics 6.3. I don't think the 90-year-old gum chomping Pete Carroll is going to be able to do much with the roster that they have right now.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's the only reason I gave him 5 wins. That defense is done. That offensive line has never existed.
I had him at 2-14 until I remembered Russell Wilson still existed.
Yep. So next, San Fran. I know how you feel about it. I'm a big believer in the Jimmy G and the Shanahan connection there. So anyway, San Fran 11-5 is what I got. You got 7-9. Sporting News has 10-6, and NFL Analytics has a 7.9. So yeah, obviously I'm not going to say Jimmy G is the next Tom Brady. That's generous for sure, but I think this team made some good moves in the offseason, and I'm really excited to see Jimmy G get a full 16 games. I know he had kind of an injury there when he got a chance to start. I think it was last year, 2 years ago, whenever Brady was suspended. But yeah, Jimmy G, I think he's a good quarterback, the Italian stallion, and let's see.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's going to be a complete bust. Obviously, he's shown some flashes of talent, but for people who can think that he's going to go out there and he's just going to continue winning like he was at the end of the year. I don't necessarily buy into it as much. They just lost Jerick McKinnon. They're rolling out Matt Breida and Alfred Morris, who's probably got to check into the retirement home after he retires next year.
How dare you?
Yep. But I wouldn't be shocked if they did have a winning record. I'm just not buying into it as much right now.
It's okay to be wrong.
I do love Marquise Goodwin, very, very fast human being. But I mean, Richard Sherman, I think, is their number one corner right now, and he's coming off of an Achilles surgery injury, and so I mean, yeah, they'll have a lot to prove. But if I were to give, like I said earlier, all of these wins are going to be losses are plus or minus 2. This is probably one of those teams where I'm more confident in saying it's a +2 than a -2. Tampa Bay, 4-12 for you, 4-12 for me, 4.1 for NFL Analytics, and 1-15 for Sporting News. Apparently, they do not like Tampa Bay. I guess I can't blame them after looking at their roster. Mike Evans had a down year last year. I unfortunately drafted him in one of my leagues, but he was the best wide receiver available, so I felt like throwing up. Yeah, not a big fan of that team as a whole. I think Jameis Winston is garbage as a human being and as a player. And then really the only redeeming quality, the reason I gave him 4 wins was because of Fitzmagic.
Yep, I respect that. Next is Tennessee. You're the only 10 I see. I gave them 9-7. You gave them 8-8. Sporting News gave them 10-6.
There's another 10 then.
Yeah, and then a 7. NFL Analytics gave them 7.2. So yeah, 9-7. I recently, when the Why Your Team Sucks article came out for Tennessee, that Drew Marjorie had put in a clip of all Marcus Mariota's interceptions from last year, and it really turned me off on the guy. He throws a lot of picks. But yeah, they're a playoff team last year. They upset the Chiefs, so
as someone who owned Marcus Mariota in a couple leagues last year for fantasy, I have never been more frustrated with another human being in my life.
There you go.
And I couldn't hate him because he's such a nice guy. But anyways, Washington, the other Gruden, you have him at 7-9. I have him at 4-12. Sporting News has him at 2-14, and NFL Analytics has him at 7.7. So a little bit of discrepancy there, a little bit of range. We all agree that they're going to have a losing record. I love Alex Smith. I think he's a decent quarterback. He's a good game manager. Yeah, I just don't have any faith in their skill positions. They brought in AP, who I'm surprised didn't ride a camel to the practice facility on the first day.
Josh, hold on.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that? You should be medicated.
That was more for the Alex Smith comment, but continue.
Yeah. I don't see he was I think he was the number 2. I think he finished number 2 or 3 in a couple of different scoring or standard scoring leagues for fantasy points last year.
That was all scheme. That was all the offensive coordinator. I don't think Alex Smith is the real deal. He's a serviceable quarterback. I don't think he's going to perform the same in Washington.
Okay. Yeah, and yet you have him winning more games than me.
Just saying. If you love the guy so much, why do you have him going 4-12?
New system. I agree it is scheming, but they're just kind of a mess around their skill positions. Jordan Reed can't stay healthy. So that's kind of what we have for the kind of the regular season predictions. I know you did a playoff bracket. I have yet to set mine up, so I'll probably do that while you discuss yours, just because.
Yeah, let me just grab my paper here.
Yep, take your time.
I'll take my time, Josh. So I'm just kidding, I won't go that slow. But all right, so I'll just kind of go the AFC side, then the NFC side, then I'll talk Super Bowl. So in the 6th seed, I had Oakland. In the 5th seed, I had Pittsburgh. The 4th seed was Houston, and the 3rd seed was the Chargers. So that's how Week 1 shakes out. I have Houston beating Pittsburgh, get fucked, Big Ben, and then I have the Chargers beating Oakland. This is just kind of, I think Deshaun Watson, if he's healthy, can destroy a Pittsburgh team, and I think the Chargers have the edge over Oakland if they can, not be as unlucky, quote unquote, as they have been. And then so my other 2 playoff teams were Jacksonville and New England. Those 2 got the byes in the AFC. New England, of course, with the 1 seed and Jacksonville at 2. So the playoff matches, how those shake out. Then with the Chargers winning, they play Jacksonville. And with Houston winning, they play New England. So I have Jacksonville beating the Chargers. And then I have New England beating Houston, obviously, because they're New England. So the AFC Championship game is New England Jacksonville, and I have New England winning again. I'd love to see Bortles kind of upset that, but probably not. In the NFC, I have as the 6th seed the Rams, as the 5th seed Dallas, as the 4th seed San Francisco, and as the 3rd seed Green Bay. In the Dallas-San Fran matchup, I have San Fran winning, just because, again, like I talked about a little bit ago, I'm a firm believer in the Jimmy G, or at least I'm very optimistic. I shouldn't say firm believer because I don't have a lot of proof, but I'm very optimistic about that. I've got some faith, if you will. Faith is more based on, I guess, the unseen than the proven facts. But and then with the Rams-Green Bay, I have Green Bay winning, of course, just because Aaron Rodgers is good. I hold nothing against the guy, even if I hate the Packers, and I don't really like Rodgers as a person. But anyways, my other 2 NFC teams were Philadelphia at the 2 seed and New Orleans at the 1 seed. I have both New Orleans and Philadelphia winning their game, so New Orleans beats San Fran and Philadelphia beats Green Bay. So this means the NFC Championship game is New Orleans versus Philly, and I have New Orleans winning that. So that means our Super Bowl matchup, Super Bowl 53, I'm not sure where it's played this year. I think it's played in Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I don't know if it's called the Superdome, probably not, but no, that's the New Orleans stadium. Yikes. Mercedes-Benz, whatever the fuck stadium. That's going to be New England and New Orleans, and I have New Orleans actually winning the Super Bowl. So like I talked about earlier when we went through our records, I'm a firm believer in Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara. I think that offense is high-powered, high-octane, and I think the defense got better throughout the offseason. So I got New Orleans beating the Patriots. Sorry, Tom Brady. Back-to-back Super Bowl losses. Josh, it looked like you were done.
Yeah, I hustled cheeks through this.
Cheeks.
So I am not sure whether or not I got the seeding correct here. And if I did get it wrong and you're out there and you're fact-checking me.
Fuck off.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but I'll just let you know I don't care. And so for the 6th seed, I have Minnesota in the NFC. 5th seed, I have Green Bay. Which makes no sense already. I can see that because that would be 2 wild card teams, and Green Bay was winning the division. Anyways, 4th Philly, then New Orleans, and then the byes I had given to the Rams and then Atlanta. And so I had Green Bay advancing, playing the Rams, and then beating the Rams to advance to the NFC Championship game. And then I had New Orleans beating Minnesota, a little bit of redemption after they should have won in Minnesota, but then the Minneapolis Miracle happened. And then I have them beating Atlanta, which wouldn't happen either, I don't believe. But then...
Great bracket, Josh. Maybe you can redeem yourself next week. But
yeah, maybe we'll have a
maybe you'll put more than 30 seconds effort in.
No, probably not. But I mean, the other side's going to be just as ugly. And so I have, let's just say the Super Bowl, I have Jacksonville and New Orleans, and New Orleans wins.
We both have New Orleans winning the Super Bowl, really? Do you just steal that based on me talking about it, or was that really your intuition?
I love New Orleans as a team. Drew Brees needs to get another ring. Sean Payton may be kind of an annoying head coach. He's no Pete Carroll, though. Pete Carroll, yeah, I hate you. But New Orleans, Alvin Kamara, you already know how high I am on him.
You're a
Drew
big
Brees,
fan.
Their defense is fairly solid. They're young and they're competing. They've got a taste in their mouth after last season. They want to have some redemption after that Minneapolis Miracle.
A taste in their mouth, huh, Josh?
Yep. I think looking at the time here, we're at around 42 minutes. We should probably move on.
Joel, Josh was going to let you know I was going to put you on a 15-minute timer to kind of talk about all the different fantasy teams, because I did want to sneak in a call here at the end. So
aren't you going to talk about anything?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we'll go back and forth. We'll have a conversation. I'm just saying I'm putting this section then on a 15-minute timer then.
All right. So we'll make it a little bit quick here. As I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, the Hidden Oaks Redraft League had a draft the other day. And so we're going to discuss that a little bit. After looking at some of the teams, I mean, I know I mentioned Nikita's my wife, but my favorite teams, the favorite drafts, I should say, Nikita was probably my favorite, and then Willie.
Boo.
But, I mean, Nikita's team is rounded off with Antonio Brown, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Jordan Howard, and then she has Russell Wilson at QB. Willie has David Johnson, Alex Collins, who I'm high on as well this year, AJ Green, A-Rob, and then Kelsey. And so both, I mean, I just like both teams. They have some solid, their skill positions are pretty solid. My least favorite team, Odell, Ertz, and Cook, or that's Garrett's team, I should say. Those are his 3 best players. Unfortunately, Garrett also had Le'Veon Bell, who looks like no, he doesn't have Le'Veon Bell.
I have Le'Veon Bell. How fucking dare you?
I forget. Oh, he has Mark Ingram. That's who I'm thinking of, who's not playing the first 4 weeks. But, I mean, it's
too busy getting fucking swole.
Right after the draft, so obviously this is just based on what's going on now. For the best wide receivers in this draft, I have my wife again and me. But Nikita's wide receivers going to her bench are, Antonio Brown, Devonta Adams, and Emmanuel Sanders are her starters. And she has Aguilar, who was, I believe, the best producing slot receiver last year. And then Doxson, who's the number 1 in Washington right now. Myself, I have DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, Sterling Shepard, Josh Garden, and Keelan Cole. And so I just like those.
Keelan Cole, I don't care if he's the fucking starter. He does not belong in the elite list, Josh. I don't give a shit how much you like the guy.
Well, can you tell me who led the league in receiving yards for the last 5 weeks last season?
Okay, Josh, you're gonna cherry pick all these random stats just to support your argument? This is garbage.
All right, I'm sorry. Best running backs? No, you're right. I'm not. Best running backs, Brad, just because he has Gurley, but then he also snagged Shady, and then he has Chris Thompson as well, who I think is going to be solid, especially if I didn't mention our league is PPR. And then Derek, who has Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, but he doesn't have much depth. I think on his bench he had like...
he didn't draft his 3rd running back until like round 13.
Yeah, and then best tight end position. Oh wait, never mind. Our commissioner decided to rid the league of tight ends and instead have wide receiver tight end flex spots.
Hey Josh, how many tight ends could you start last year?
2.
How many tight ends could you start this year?
4.
Okay, did I rid the tight end position?
You made us change our draft strategy to avoid the tight end position.
That doesn't make it. Why would you avoid a position that could produce you points every week? See, Josh, this is my problem. I don't want to get too deep into it, but all the arguments I've heard about this change that I've made is taking away the exclusive tight end position and putting all the catching positions to wide receiver / tight end. They've all been like dumb emotional arguments. If you guys can show me some stats or some data on why the tight end position is important, great. Otherwise, all I did was make the league more flexible. For a 12-person team, might be expanding to, or 12-person league might be expanding to 14 next year, and there's realistically 4 good tight ends.
Agree to disagree. Next, I want to run through, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, we had some feedback from our Reddit Dynasty League. I forget the blood, sweat, and beers. Yeah, I was gonna say beers, steers, and queers, but I don't know. I don't know why.
The only thing we got are steers and queers, and I don't see any fucking udders on you.
They wanted a little bit more rundown. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to do a huge breakdown of our draft just because, A, I'm not sure you guys are going to listen to this again, and B, I'm really lazy individual. And so I just have a quick rundown. Check my balls. You have too many Vikings on your team. All I did was say ish. And so that's all I really had for your notes. Granted, it's a dynasty league, so everybody has their
There's a bunch of losers in Minnesota.
Yes, we are. And so Colm's team, I thought it was a well-rounded team. He's also the guy who doesn't want to play anymore. Apparently, I don't know if he just doesn't like us as individuals. It
wasn't a money issue. He didn't want to put in $10 or whatever that.
It was, just producing the funds and finding a method of doing so. I like the carrier pigeon idea someone tossed out there. I have 6 or 7 living underneath my deck, so I could have borrowed him one.
Will that really make it to Australia?
Oh, shoot, I suppose. I'd have to teach him how to fly upside down. But
You're so fucking stupid.
Cockknocker. Best name. I'll give you that. Your team as a whole, and I don't know if you're the one that mentioned it in the chat during the draft that your average age was 23.
I think that was Happy Bears fan. But that was after pick 4 or 5. So
okay, yeah. But you have the best name, and then my other note is that your team is younger than Dane Cook's girlfriend, but it has really good potential. So I really like some of the draft picks that you took.
So is he more of a winner this year, or a winner 2-3 years from now?
I think. Is it's the NFL, so who knows what could happen. I mean, guys like Juju last year surprised people, had great seasons. But yeah, I mean, I think in the next few years, if these guys produce at their like kind of projected potential, he'd be a tough team to beat. Erect Dicker, another great name. Young squad, 50% 2018 rookie class and 50% of free agent players. You might want to check your bench. I think 4 or 5 of them haven't signed anywhere yet.
It's all strategy, Josh. He knows more than we do, okay?
Well, I mean, we have a podcast, so.
Yeah, okay.
Dalton Abbey. Nice play on words there.
First on, I just want to give a shout out to this poor ass motherfucker who has to be a Bengals fan. That's got to be so fucking rough.
Yeah, no, I'm.
And that comes from a Vikings fan.
Should we take a moment of silence? But we don't have that much time. You only gave me 15 minutes. I put a note down here saying that it's maybe my favorite team. It's well-rounded in all your skill positions, and then it's led by the Godgers. And so good job there. TD my pants, touchdown my pants, I guess. Makes more sense for me to say the full word instead of my abbreviation on here. I love your starting running backs. Not a lot of depth in that position from what I looked at. Wide receivers are all mid-high second tier with insane depth. And I guess my note on that was that all of your guys, none of them are like the Antonio Browns or the Julio Joneses of the world, but all of them are those guys that are just kind of a little bit below that, including your benched wide receivers. So might have to toss a trade your way here and there. Futtbuckers. When I first read your team name, thought it was Fuddruckers, which is a restaurant. You have Kamara, Juju, and Diggs, young guys. Then a few questions, but a lot of potential with the youth. Chiefs stop lose. I don't know if that's like some play on words that I'm just not getting, or if it's like if it's just you lived in a cave.
Well, see, it translates from Australian, Josh. I don't know if you realize, but
should I read it
Australians
upside
speak
down?
English. Oh God, yes, Josh, you should.
Young running backs, Mixon and Leonard Fournette, love them. Decent wide receiver core and a solid bench, so another good team. I think we play you week 1, so that should be interesting. I think we're projected the same or very close to the same. 2 girlies, 1 cup. You have 0 girlies on your team, so I made a note on that.
Does he have cup at least?
I didn't see. I don't think so.
All right, bold move, Cotton.
Your squad would be perfect for a super duper 3 quarterback squad.
Josh, I'm going to
league.
interrupt everything you're saying. I need the bold move, Cotton fucking soundboard bit, and I need it now. God, I'm upset that I don't have it yet. Sorry, continue.
You have 5 or 6 total quarterbacks. You were auto drafted, and so you have a decent win now squad. But in a few years,
was that the Team USA?
I believe so. Happy Bears fan. There's no such thing as a Happy Bears fan. You stole all of our picks. If I remember correctly, in our podcast, we swore at you half a dozen times for stealing picks that we were talking about. If I'm going to be honest, you have solid running backs, solid wide receivers, overall decent squad. So another, well-rounded squad. Obviously, it's post-draft. Everyone's happy about their squad. We're not getting too much of a deep dive. I'm not going to give everybody their analytics on how tall their wide receivers or running backs are.
Maybe you should.
But I'm really hoping that you're a happy Bears fan because of your fantasy squad and not your real-life team. Brett and Brett, I love your 1 and 2 wide receivers, Nuke and Julio. You have upside young wideouts and solid pass-catching backs, which is helpful in a PPR league, but I didn't see many like bell cow backs. And then our team, Hidden Oaks. And so we will be sending you in our private chat the address that you can send our trophy and winnings to, because we have the best team.
Obviously. I didn't take any notes. I know that, they had requested out my name. Obviously, I think it's just because I posted out the podcast, but they said, they'd love if we did a breakdown of their teams. And we really didn't do that here. So I guess if you guys actually end up listening to this podcast and that's something you really want, maybe Josh and I can work that in logistically. But we're trying to, the whole reason of this podcast was to drive engagement from the leagues we have with, our friends here. But if you guys listen and you're willing to listen like every week or at least every other week or so, we'll definitely be willing to give you more time. I guess you'll just have to let us know that you listened, and then either like us on Facebook or email us, and then that's how we'll kind of know.
No, my idea behind this was just kind of do a rundown, talk about everybody's team, make fun of it a little bit without too much of a deep dive. If we get feedback in the Slack
Josh, if
chat,
I had a nickel for every time you said deep dive in the past 5 minutes, I'd be a rich fucking man.
I think it's a great phrase, and I think I'm on Reddit too much because that's on there all the time. But if they comment on the Slack chat without us posting anything to it, then I think definitely work them in, add them to our schedule, similar to what we do with our Dynasty League for Hoax, as well as the Coon Rapids, things like that. Because so far, so good in this group. Moving on to our Hidden Oaks Dynasty with our group of friends. There's some roster moves. Jalen added Adam Shaheen, Adam Humphreys, and Adam Sandler to his roster. He dropped Martavis Bryant. Hammer dropped Dan Bailey, and then Connor dropped Khalil Mack, a.k.a. the Bears defense. There was a big trade that happened a week ago. I don't have the details on it. Garlic, do you?
I'm scrolling currently as we speak. What just found it right as you said that. So the big is, Nate used the term blockbuster trade, and I think he likes that language about it. So we'll keep that true. So here was the trade. Nate, this is what he received. Nate received Odell Beckham Jr., Duke Johnson, and a 2019 second rounder. Just to make sure people understand for context, that is, we do a rookie draft every year. It's not a redraft league, so that second round pick is a second round talent rookie. So it's definitely worth less than a normal second round pick in a redraft league. But if it's a deep draft class, or if it's like an 11 or 12 pick because the team did shit last year, then it could be a good pick. And then Nate lost in that trade Brandon Cooks and Kareem Hunt. So again, just to recap, that trade was Odell Beckham, Duke Johnson, and a 2019 second rounder for Brandon Cooks and Kareem Hunt, and Derek was the one who received Brandon Cooks and Kareem Hunt. Those were the deets.
So then we can talk. Then I want to jump into some of the matchups that we have, and in the redraft league, Garrett versus Josh. I have Garrett winning that game because I can't have nice things. Nikita versus Nate. I have Nate beating Nikita, just because Nate has a pretty solid roster. Willie and Derek, the Brother Bowl. I have that as the closest matchup, with Willie winning.
Was that based on projections or your own intuition?
Own intuition, because I think yours and Jordan's was closer. Jamie versus T. I have T winning. Brad versus Hammer. I have Brad beating Hammer by the biggest blowout. And then Garlic versus Jordan. I have Jordan upsetting Garlic, and that was before the Le'Veon Bell news broke.
I got James Conner. I'm all good. I'm not worried.
Well, I know, but he's no Le'Veon. In the Hidden Oaks Dynasty League, Josh versus T. I have me winning. Sorry, T. I also have that as the biggest blowout of the week.
Get fucked, T.
Yep. Hammer versus Jalen. I have Jalen winning. I hate you, Jalen. Just kidding. Kevin versus Derek. I have Derek winning. Nate versus Connor. I have Connor winning. And then Willie versus Garlic. I have Garlic winning in the closest matchup of the week.
Ooh, suck it, Willie.
Coon Rapids Dynasty. I didn't want to do everybody's matchup, but just our two teams.
I mean, we're the most important people in that
absolutely.
league. So,
Plus, they're not going to listen. Who cares?
I mean, Alex or Ryan might.
That's true.
I mean, Walters. I shouldn't call him Ryan. No one does. But.
Walters isn't even in that league, so.
But he might listen to the podcast.
True. I play Tyler. Sleeper has us as a 50-50 split, and I give Tyler the edge just because his wide receivers are more consistent than mine, and if anybody who knows Tyler, or anybody who knows Tyler knows that he has 6 or 7 horseshoes shoved up his ass. Garlic versus Ratzloff. This is an auto win for Garlic at this point. Ratzloff is going in without a kicker, defense, and then he has Ingram in his starting lineup for week 1. For the Reddit Dynasty League, if you're still listening after
they've tuned out.
Well, if you're still listening, I haven't heard that 15-minute timer go off.
I didn't set an actual timer.
Oh, well, I have Chiefs stop lose beating us because it's only fitting that we lose because we're the ones podcasting, and people think we know what we're talking about, but in all reality, we're just kind of making it up as we go.
Gosh, have we ever given the what's the word I'm looking for? Have we ever given the impression that we have any fucking clue what we're talking about? We barely prepare for this. We wing the podcast at best. I don't think anyone's convinced that we're any sorts of experts.
We have Albamart, though, so that's kind of...
Ooh, shout out to Levi Oki.
Again, we want our royalties. But
that's not... We would pay him royalties. What are you talking about? That's not how that works.
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything, Garlic. In our Hidden Oaks Redraft League, we are doing something different. And so with our week 1, we have a 13-week side bet set up. And so with our week 1 side bet, it is a highest scoring starting team. So for the starters, whoever has the highest total score, that winner will get $5 at the end of the year. And so at this point in time, I haven't, I would say that right now, I think it's going to be either Brad or Nate who are going to get that, just based on what I have. I don't even have notes. I'm just making it up, I guess.
Thanks, Josh. Can always count on you.
And so that's kind of how it goes. And then next week is going to be a completely different side bet. So we'll update you who won this week as well as what the next week's side bet is. Do you have anything to add, Gar?
Here's kind of our options. Obviously, we're getting close to that 15-minute marker, but I did say that every week we're going to do picks on the podcast. So I don't know if you'd rather do picks before or after the call.
Let's do it after. Can't we include the call?
What do you mean, can't we include the call?
Could they be a part of the picks?
If we want them to go through, they're not going to have a schedule sitting in front of them. They're probably going to be ill-prepared.
Oh, you want to? Okay. That's fine. I thought you were just doing certain picks for certain weeks or certain games, not... Never mind.
We can do it just two if you want. Like, we could do, like, the Fox News type, one lock and one upset. I figured we'd just do full picks, but...
I would say lock and upset.
Josh, I hate you so much.
But then again, I don't have the lines in front of me either, so...
What's that? You don't have the lines in front of you? What's this language you're speaking to me right now, Josh?
Can you inform us who we're calling?
No, Josh. No, we can't. The fact that you don't know honestly makes it better. I know you don't recognize the number, so... here we go. Connecting. Trying to make sure the audio level's good here. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you doing today, fine sir?
Doing great. Gar, how are you doing?
Oh, I am living the dream, Connor. Just trying to get you on the podcast here. But you're still kind of a stranger to most of us, realistically. I've only seen you in person one time, I think. Just tell us a little about yourself to start here.
Well, as you guys have talked about in the last couple of podcasts, I did listen to him do a little bit of my homework before I came in.
Ooh, nice.
But my name's Connor. I am definitely probably the youngest one of the group. I'm only 21. And I'm still in college.
Ew.
I'm going to the University of Minnesota as a pre-med student.
Oh, good for you.
I got joined in this league as a friend of a friend of a friend.
That's
and
correct.
Every connection I have to this league has now dropped out. So, like we said, I am kind of the Ted without AIDS. Yes, at least.
Yeah, Ted didn't get AIDS until later in life, so you still got a chance, boss.
Yeah, we can only hope, right?
Yep, and then so I believe, if I remember from your Facebook correctly, you live in Champlin, is that right? Or you're from Champlin at least?
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn Park, raised there until I got a little older, and we moved here to Champlin, but I pretty much spent my whole life in Champlin.
Oh, cool. Josh, I know you don't know much about Connor. Do you have any questions for him?
No, I know he holds on to Josh Gordon with some high regard there, so I think he's pretty smart.
All right. So
everybody for the last 2 years has told me, just drop him. You can pick him up. Just drop him. And now my little hint, my feeling has come to fruition, and I'm ready to capitalize.
I'm thinking, 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and then week 2 happens?
We can only hope, right?
Nice. I like it. So Connor, are you a Vikings fan then, or how much do you pay attention to actual NFL? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I got into it right when I got into fantasy. It was actually the Brett Favre year.
Same story, bro.
Bounty Gate. That was my first year I really cared about football, and I kind of got the rude awakening of how this whole Minnesota sports thing works.
Oh, I'm glad you were unaware until that point in your life, but I'm sorry. This is where you live now with your sports fandom.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't get into it the year after and then get built up for 6 years and have another Blair Walsh style letdown. But I'm glad I kind of got that. Like at a restaurant, they break a glass on the first night, gets away the bad luck. I'm glad I broke the glass on the first night, I guess you could say.
Sure, no, I like that strategy. So what are you thinking for Vikings football here? How do the Vikes do this year? You can give me your predicted record or kind of who you like on the team. Do you like Cousins? Do you like what we did this year? Just kind of give us all your general thoughts about the Vikes.
I'm sniffing about a 12-4. I know some people have us at 10 wins, 13 wins. I think we clearly take the division. Josh, you can fuck off with your whatever Packer talk. I don't want to hear none of that. But I like Kirk. I was a little disheveled by some of the comments that were coming in when we first took him. Everybody's like, "Oh, have fun with him in the red zone, whatever." I think he'll do fantastic. He finally has at least a feasible offensive line. He's got good defense behind him, some good weapons there. I think he's got a whole new array of weapons to deal with, and he's going to be a completely new quarterback in Minnesota. So I'm glad to have him here, and our defense is as deep as it's ever been. I mean, you get so built up every year, but I've never seen a defense in Minnesota like this, and I can only be optimistic.
Team has a bunch of losers in Minnesota.
Oh God, that's probably Josh's favorite sound clip. If not, the Vikings are terrible. Yeah, I know.
I will agree with the Vikings defense being solid, and I do think that your 12-4 record is probably pretty accurate. So I'm not going to trash talk you on that. I do think it's going to be a lot closer for the division, though. Obviously, if Rodgers plays all 16.
I'm just glad that they didn't get Khalil. I mean, I get that everybody's overamping about how we should try to beef up the O-line to worry about Khalil and Chicago. I'm not too worried about it. If you would have gone to the Packers, that would have gotten me a little riled up.
Well, I mean, the Packers edge rush at this point is they might as well toss me out there. So yeah, I can see the fear there. The Bears already had a solid defense to begin with, and so adding one more solid piece isn't necessarily going to set them miles ahead of where they were before. But yeah, I could see your point there. The Packers not getting them.
Yep. Connor, do you give a shit about Anthony Barr not being re-signed yet? I know this offseason we spent a lot of time re-signing kind of like our core guys, offensive, defensive. Do you think Anthony Barr has a future in Minnesota? Do we re-sign him by the time his contract's up, or what does that look like?
I honestly really don't have a clue what's going on there. I think it's a little more complicated than we all see because, as you've seen, the guys who want to be here love being here. And Zim's guys, he's built this team up. They love being here. He loves them. He's taking care of them. So the fact that we saw Barr flash in his rookie year, and I think that put this underlying feeling of, okay, don't worry about Barr, he was a great pick. I think if you really dive deep into the film on him, he's a very replaceable player. And I think that maybe some of the antics he's been, maybe some stuff in practice or something, maybe Zim's not being too fond of. I feel like he sees the same thing. And I'm honestly not too worried about him not getting re-signed yet. I feel like if there's out of that like 5 or 6 guys we knew could only sign 4 or 5 of them, I would have picked him as one of my guys. I wouldn't be too worried about re-signing, but that's just me.
Sure, beautiful, and I kind of agree. I think this kind of changed Barr's attitude once Zim said it. But Zim, at least once in like a press conference, came out and said that Anthony Barr has a tendency to coast, which is like, he's still obviously out on the field, but he's probably not putting in 110%, which kind of is what Zim expects, I think, from all his players.
And I think a part of the equation here too is that they signed his buddy. They signed Kendricks right in front of his face as one of those first free agents and probably tried to get him to act a different way, maybe and step it up. And maybe he hasn't. Maybe he didn't take the bait like they wanted him to, and they're ready to just kind of part ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Only time will tell for sure. But I guess I don't really have any more questions for you, Josh. I assume you would speak up if you did, but I definitely would like to give you the opportunity, since really your only inclusion in this group is through the Dynasty League. I would definitely like to give you the opportunity to talk some trash. You definitely like to be vocal in the league chat.
Love it, by the way.
Yeah.
When you insult Jalen, I giggle every time.
Yeah, we're a big fan. I know.
I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know why when I get about 6-7 beers deep, I decide to just whip out the sleeper app, but that is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, no, I guess I don't have any questions other than I know we've talked about it in the past, but definitely trying to involve the league a little bit more and do some more stuff. So keep an eye on like the chat, text messages, because I definitely want to get people together on like a Sunday to watch some football, to hang out, maybe grill, have some chili, do something. So keep your eye out for that.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I first heard from Ryan that people were going to do a fantasy league, I was really excited. I've always wanted to get one together with some buddies, and nobody's been as serious. And so when I got the opportunity to join this one, it's pretty much been as high as my expectations could have been. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted. Everybody's vocal. Everybody loves trades. Everybody kind of really gets into it. So, yeah, man, count me in.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if you got cut off or not, but just any other trash you want to talk about, either call out Jalen, because you were chirping on him a bit, or just you want to talk about how great your team is. If there's any other trash talk, kind of now's your time.
Oh, I just think we got to look back at my rookie picks and the guys I've held on to. I mean, I think I drafted for the future. Yeah, I might be 13-13 overall, but I mean, I think Christian McCaffrey, I think I had a great pick there. I think Josh Gordon holding on to him, and I was really happy that you really wanted Josh Rosen, and I could take him right out from under you. That
you son of a bitch.
Back to the podcast, that really made me happy.
Oh, dude, I don't want to say I was heated in that moment, but I was like, ugh, I really want to. I mean, I'll have to wait until next year, I guess, unless someone wants to trade me a young quarterback. But this was a deep class. It's like, there's no way we don't get a good one, but we got fucked, I think. But yeah, I appreciate you
I
taking
wanted to
them.
bring up one thing you guys might not have talked about in the initial draft we did for this. I know you talked about how you had to auto draft your team, but did you guys talk at all about how your queue was set up and how it kind of screwed you over?
Not really. If you want to talk about it, go for it.
So basically, everybody's sitting there at B-dubs. Garlic couldn't have been there. And what happened was you can set your queue, obviously, as everybody knows. We're all fantasy players here. But there was a big run on wide receivers. So I think it was 11 picks in a row. The top guy on Garlic's queue was a running back. And since we have 30-person rosters, it didn't feel the need to start drafting him other players. So nearly half of his team ended up being running backs.
Yeah, that is. I can't confirm that, Tom. I did try and go set my queue, knowing that I was going to have an auto drafted team. But you can. But my problem was I really can't set my queue up knowing that certain running backs are going to be gone. It's not like I can take certain ones out, because if those ones got picked and I didn't have the other ones in their place, then I'd only have a team of wide receivers, or I'd have the opposite problem. So I was just like, well, fuck it. I guess I just have to leave in all these good running backs and just hope that I get a good receiver or two. I was able to trade Nate and get a couple from him, but I think the only receiver that was good from that draft was Larry Fitz. I think I got him, and probably because I got him because he's old and no one else wanted him.
Well, as my last little walk-off shot, as an advice to anybody out there who might be listening that is unfamiliar, Sleeper has been a complete surprise to me, and I have nothing but good things to say about that app. I mean, the second we switched, you guys did a great job of finding that app, and it's fantastic.
Glad to hear that.
Josh has a boner as you said that. He kind of found it
this.
himself.
I love that app. I'm in agreement with you 100%. And they keep updating it.
What?
I don't know if you see the little updates every time it updates. If you read their comments, they're hilarious. So check them out.
They do fantastic. And I think that Flea Flicker app had the right idea. It had the right mechanics, but the user interface wasn't ready. They had the idea of being able to track traded draft picks and whatnot. But when it came down to the interface and how you had to add players and how things didn't transition smoothly, it almost kind of made me stressed out every time I opened the app. But so not to bash on that company. I'm sure they're doing great things with their app. But this Sleeper app, man, everybody, whoever's listening here that doesn't usually listen, check it out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess the reason I moved us to Flea Flicker was because the commissioner controls were great. It gave us complete control on the back end. And I had already been on Flea Flicker for 6-8 years before I brought you guys on. So I was pretty much beaten down. I was just used to it kind of being shitty. And I think that was their first year actually having an app. And so Flea Flicker isn't that bad when you're using it on a desktop or a laptop. But yeah, on your phone, I agree. It wasn't the best. But yeah, I've been happy with Sleeper as well. I know you already said kind of your walk-off comments, but any last thing you want to say, Connor, before we leave you behind and back to homework, I assume?
Last thing I want to say is you two have generally surprised me. I kind of tuned in thinking a couple of my buddies would just be making a podcast, talking whatever, but you guys kind of got a knack for this. You guys sound really good. You're doing a fantastic job.
Aw, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Connor.
It's the last nice thing you'll hear out of me for the next 4 months. So
yeah, exactly. Go fuck yourself. Your team
sounds-
blows. I'm going to kill you
sounds
every
good.
week.
Enjoy last place.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Connor. Hopefully we'll have you on again,
Yeah, no
or if not, comment on Facebook or send us some emails or something. We'd like to incorporate in the show any way we can.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on, and best of luck to you guys.
Yep, you too.
So, Josh, I know you didn't know that phone call was going to happen, but how do you feel that went?
I thought it went well. No, I've always been a fan of Connor. And I do stand by what I said about trying to get people together on a Sunday, whether it's at our house in Big Lake out here or at B-Dubs somewhere. Obviously, if we came to our house, we'd have a little white fluff ball running around causing mischief. But
T would love that, though.
Yeah, T would probably try and steal her. But yeah, no, I'm definitely down to get together. If it's week 2 for the Vikings-Packers game, depending on how that game just shakes out, I may leave early. I may stay late. Who knows?
I was checking the specs on the end line for the rotary girder. I'm retarded.
Yeah, I have maybe a 10-word limit before I start to mumble and bumble over words, so I need to quit talking.
Yeah.
Should we get through these picks? I know we've already done more than an hour, which is already probably an hour longer than most people want to listen to us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of was our last week with some extra content, though. I think next week, I mean, obviously we'll talk about the NFL results, but it'll mainly be just kind of the NFL results, and we'll tie that into fantasy. So I'm hoping all their next podcasts will come in around 45 minutes, or at least less than an hour. But I guess time will tell. But yeah, I mean, so at least on a friendship basis, I would definitely like us to do like the full picks like we've been doing every year. Kind of everyone throws $5 in, and if I can incorporate that into the show or at least talk about the winner, that'd be cool. But for now, just for this podcast, or at least for this week, if you want to just do a lock and an upset, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, let's do lock and upset just because it goes a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then
it
we
looks
could
like you have
save
the sheets behind you. Do you mind? Do you have the week 1 sheet behind you? I know it's gotten kind of fucking dark in your basement as we've sat here, but I'll sit here and vamp while Josh sorts through the papers he grabbed. I don't know if they were the weekly schedules. Oh, they were. Beautiful. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to sit here and keep talking because we don't want dead air, but I'm also going to try and read, so this will go very poorly. As a lock win. I mean, looking at the schedule, Josh, I mean, who does Green Bay play?
They play Chicago.
Ooh, and that's at Green Bay. Should that be my lock? Ooh, that's pretty good. You know what? My lock's going to be Detroit over the Jets because fuck you, Jets. And then I'm still looking for my upset, Josh, if you have any well, you know what? I'm going to do my upset as Cleveland over Pittsburgh. I've just decided. I think the season opener last year, Pittsburgh almost lost to Cleveland. So I'm thinking this year they're actually going to get it done. So my lock again is Detroit over the Jets. And my upset is Cleveland over Pittsburgh. And then we'll kind of keep track of this every week. We'll keep like a running total of how many points we get, kind of like Fox News does.
All right. Are we allowed to do the same ones? Because that's the exact same 2 teams that I had picked.
I mean, I think eventually we'll probably have to make rules where we can't like pick on having the Jets be the lock every week, or like a shitty team being the lock every week. But for week 1, I mean, I can try and look for a different one if that's what you want your lock to be.
No, I mean, let's just get that on the record that I was thinking that Detroit would be a lock and Cleveland would be an upset, and I'll try and come up with 2 other teams. Let's go with New Orleans as my lock, and then we'll do my upset as I'm going to say...
If you can't find a new one, I found a new upset.
I'm not sure if it's going to be much of an upset, but let's have Atlanta over Philly tomorrow night on Thursday as my upset.
Okay, so I should probably write these down. So your upset was what? Atlanta over Philly?
Yes.
All right.
Then my lock was New Orleans versus Tampa.
Lock N-O over B.
But if Cleveland ends up beating Pittsburgh, I'm going to be upset, and I want a half point because that was my initial thought.
No. I'm so sorry, Josh. You should have been faster. My upset was Clee over Pittsburgh. This is great podcasting. Listen to me write things down. And then my lock was Detroit over the Jets. And maybe Sam Darnold will surprise me and I'll look like a fucking idiot by next week, but who knows? I don't really have any more actual comments, Josh. Do you anything you want to throw out there?
No, I guess for those of you who have listened through everything that we have done so far, whether it's this episode or the previous episodes, thanks for sticking with us. Like Garlic said, this should be our last long-winded one. Hopefully we'll just get into the meat and potatoes of things from now on and not necessarily bumble around with predictions and things like that. For the Reddit Blood, Sweat, and Beers League, like I said, comment on the Slack, send us an email if you'd like us to actually have a show set aside to do a deep dive on the rosters, and then you can make fun of how we assess your team at that point. Other than that, I have nothing else to add. I'm starving.
Yeah, I think Nikita, you said, was making us some homemade pizza or some bullshit like that. That sounds delicious, though. I wanted to make the same pitch as Josh. I will admit, episode 2 maybe not so much would be boring to outsiders. I think episode 2 was fine for our league mates if they ever listen to it. Episode 3, looking back, it was probably boring. I don't know if we'll do a similar thing next year or not. Episode 4 obviously was just the bonus draft. That was mainly for our Aussie, European, Chicago friends in that Dynasty League Josh keeps talking about.
Friends is a strong word there.
Yeah. Our mates. How's that mates, Josh? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I guess I should toss this out too as kind of a disclaimer. For those Australian members of the league, I don't know how you balance football and fighting off all the animals trying to kill you in that area.
The wombats, the roos.
I mean, ride your roo to work and kill a couple spiders that would kill you in a heartbeat. So I commend you. If you end up passing away throughout the season, we'll have to commemorate or do a memorial to you throughout the year here.
Yeah, My last pitch, I know we keep getting long-winded here at the end, but my last pitch is this whole podcast is not to make money. Josh and I are not trying to become famous by any means. If anything, I'm sure Josh and I would appreciate a lot of people we know not listening to this, as our main audience is the league members of the leagues we're in, and maybe some closer friends. But we're really doing this to drive engagement. So if you've listened this far, please engage the show. It would make it fun for us. It would probably make it more fun for you because we'll probably talk about what you say. So in our redraft league, in our Hidden Oaks Dynasty League, in our Reddit Blood, Sweat, and Beers Dynasty League, please just engage the show. It'll make it fun for all of us, and that's kind of why we're doing this. So any comment you have, even if it's just a simple one on Facebook or if it's a long-winded email, I'm sure we'll feature you and talk about what you have to say. So I would just encourage everyone to engage the show as much as you can.
Word.
All right, thanks for having me, Josh. I think we always surprise ourselves with how long we actually take. That call Connor though did go. I don't want to say it went long because I appreciate the whole conversation, but I assumed it would be like a 5-10. I think it was only about 15. Do you? I mean, I do this on purpose. I do it's more like a background noise thing. I think it's cool. Like if they kept listening through it. It's not like we're gonna reveal any secrets here, Josh. We're not gonna dog social security numbers or nothing. No, I think this part is cool. Alright, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna bring my laptop up after this is done, so I want to at least get the beginning cut and hopefully start exporting it. Or not exporting it, but moving it to an MP3. Because I usually try and listen to them on the way home. Audio didn't cut out this time, so that was good.